Hey guys, it's Sydney, and today we will be talking about the CARRIE Diaries. The CARRIE Diaries is a prequel to Sex and the City, which is meant to show the backstory of Carrie Bradshaw. The show is based off of a book of the same name by Candace Bushnell, and it originally aired on the CW from 2013 to 2014. It stars Anna Sophia Robb as Carrie Bradshaw, and the Carrie Bradshaw that is in the CARRIE Diaries is vastly different than the Carrie Bradshaw that is in Sex and the City. She has a completely different origin story where her mom passes away. Oh my goodness. She has a completely different origin story where her mom passes away 3 months before the start of the series, and she has a 14-year-old sister named Dorrit and is raised primarily by her father, who is a lawyer. While in Sex and the City, Carrie says her dad abandoned her and her mom when she was 5 years old, and there is no mentions of a sister. Okay, well, now that the introduction's out of the way, let's dive into season 1. Episode 1 has a lot in it. We meet the supporting cast with Mouse Chen, who is a walking stereotype, and she's basically like the stereotypical smart Asian girl. They literally say that. They say that. And the show pokes fun at that, but sometimes it feels like they're just perpetuating that stereotype. Her parents are constantly pressuring her off screen to be the best that she can be academically and save their entire lives for her to go to Harvard. Maggie Landers is also one of Carrie's friends and is the daughter of the chief of police and is dating Walt Rogers, another one of Carrie's friends. We are also introduced to Donna LaDonna. Yes, that is what they named her. She is Carrie's arch nemesis and is gunning for the new guy, Sebastian Kidd, who will also spend time with Carrie over the summer at Castleberry Swim Club. During this episode, a bag that used to be Carrie's mother's goes missing, and Carrie accuses Dorrit of taking it. Dorrit denies it, but she's clearly lying. We later find out that Dorrit did take the bag, and she stuffed it into this giant teddy bear, and she ended up spilling a bunch of nail polish on it. Carrie ends up turning it into this cool splatter paint bag that is very 2010s. While talking with Sebastian in the hallway, Carrie's dad shows up unannounced and reminds Carrie of when her mom first passed away, and she faints in the middle of the hallway. Like, she literally just falls out, but she was about to ask Sebastian out. But when she wakes up, her dad tells her that he was speaking with her guidance counselor, and they agreed to have Carrie go into the city once a week for a internship at a law firm. But on her way to her internship, Carrie rips her stockings, and she has to go buy a new pair during lunchtime, and she meets Larissa Lofton. And she's an editor at Interview magazine, and she thinks Larissa is trying to steal her bag because she instantly grabs it and says, "Oh my gosh, it's so fabulous, where did you get it?" But Carrie helps Larissa steal a bunch of clothes, and she becomes one of the people that Larissa collects. Larissa also invites Carrie on a night out of town, but Mouse calls Carrie and tells her that Sebastian wants to take her out tonight. But ultimately, Carrie decided to go to Larissa, and when she returns to Connecticut an hour past curfew, and her sister is missing. When Dorrit returns in the morning, she is extremely drunk and gets into an argument with Carrie because Dorrit is very jealous of Carrie because how do you get to have a piece of mom and I get nothing? Mind you, Dorrit was very close to Carrie and her mother, while Carrie was closer to her father. So it's like, you get to have dad, I had mom. Why do you get to get all of mom's stuff? And then Maggie and Walt's relationship is rocky because Walt doesn't want to have sex with Maggie. And Walt thinks he may be gay, but Maggie is cheating on Walt with a cop named Simon, who sucks. He is like 24 years old with this 16-year-old girl. Hashtag gross, hashtag lock him up, hashtag not like us summer.
Oh, okay.
Mouse is also trying to call her summer crush during this episode named Seth. He is also a college kid, but he's like a freshman. So he's like 18, maybe 19, still kind of strange. And they met while she was in Washington, D.C. for the summer. And she lost her virginity to him. But he kind of sucks too. In episode 2, Carrie is grounded for her past actions, and Sebastian is forced to attend a dinner at the country club. And I forgot to mention, Sebastian's family is like very rich, but it's new money. Like, his dad just got a lot of money, like while Sebastian was coming up living. His dad and his mom just got divorced because his mom was cheating on his dad with the tennis instructor. She laughed. There was this whole thing. It was very drama filled. Sebastian's mom is very annoying. So is his dad, but his mom is way worse because she acts like she doesn't do anything wrong. At least Sebastian's dad knows that he ain't nothing. Like, he knows that. He just ain't trying to fix it, okay? But this entire time at the country club dinner, Donna is trying to steal Sebastian away from Carrie. And Mouse is also attending this dinner and tells Carrie about the two leaving and going off into the secluded area. But Sebastian and Donna don't do anything. He just gives her his jacket because she was cold outside and she was high and it's all the same. Carrie is wary about her and Sebastian's relationship because they're not technically dating, but they both like each other. So Carrie takes it upon herself to try and sneak and be with Sebastian and like invite him to the swim club because she's allowed to go to the swim club, but she's not allowed to like hang out with her friends in other places. So she's caught at the swim club because Dorrit tells on her. But Dorrit didn't mean to tell on her. It's because Carrie blew Dorrit off for Sebastian. I would do the same thing. I'm sorry, you're not about to blow me off. You're weird. Like, you're the one that asked me if I wanted to go to the swim club. They're gonna blow me off for some boy. He can wait. And back in New York, Larissa asked Carrie for her bag so she can use it in a photo shoot. And Carrie says yes, and then she has to go through all these hoops to get the bag to Larissa because they're like at Dumbo. I don't know how far Dumbo is from the law firm, but it seems like a lot because she had to take like 2 trains and a bus to get there and then a taxi. It was a whole thing. She got there and it all works out, and then she was late to her actual job. Now she is on thin ice and they are not liking her. There's a secretary that works there that's kind of her boss. They call her B-word Barbara. They hate her. And she really is bitter and mean. Like, you can tell she has nothing to do with her life except for work. But eventually she does get like a little man and it makes her happier. So the moral of this story is that you have to have a man to be happy and less B-wordy. That's what I'm hearing. That's what they're saying. In this episode, Walt breaks up with Maggie because he feels like his heart isn't in it with Maggie. And he just feels like he can't give her what she needs. And Tom tells Carrie that she cannot date Sebastian. Tom is like, he used to be one of my clients. I used to represent him. And just know that he's not a good guy. We're like, what in the world? What has Sebastian done? And we know he's been expelled from like every school in the tri-state area. But what's tea? In episode 3, Carrie is trying to convince her dad that she should be able to date Sebastian. So Carrie tries to find the roots of her father's disdain for the boy. So she snoops through her father's files, her father's confidential files that he could lose his license for. Are you serious? And she finds out that Sebastian was kicked out of his old school for having an affair with a teacher. So she tells all of her friends and she starts to make judgments about him like, oh, he's not that bad. He's not that bad. Of course he's not that bad. He was taken advantage of. He's a victim. And then Tom is really messing me up. Tom is really making me angry because this boy is a victim of something that his teacher did to him. Somebody that was supposed to take care of him, that's supposed to mentor him, decided to take advantage of him. That's what happened. Carrie and Sebastian meet up later, and Carrie and Sebastian kiss. And while they're kissing, Carrie stops, and she's like, yeah, I don't mind that you had an affair with your teacher. I don't mind that. I don't mind that. And my friends don't mind it either. They think you're cool. And then Sebastian's like, how do you know that? Who told you? You snooped through my file? What are you talking about? How did you find this? Like, he's weirded out and he feels like his privacy has been invaded, as it has been. And he broke up with her, as he should do. Episode 4, Walt and Carrie go to a Halloween party in the city. And Carrie takes care of Larissa because she is drugged out. Walt meets a man named Bennett, who also works at Interview magazine. And Bennett tries to kiss Walt, and Walt freaks out and calls him a slur. And while this is all happening, Sebastian is throwing a party at the diner, and there is so much alcohol, so much drugs. But it's not hard drugs. It's just a little weed. It's a little marijuana. And Mouse decides to smoke some, okay? Because her and Sebastian were like kicking it. It was cool. And at first, Mouse was kind of like, oh, I shouldn't be cool with him because that's Carrie's ex-boyfriend. We not cool with him. One thing, Mouse is loyal. She don't play. When Carrie falls out with somebody and Carrie's not in the wrong, Mouse goes step behind Carrie every single time. She's real. She's just like me. She's real. She's like, I'm not messing with Sebastian because he want to break Carrie's heart. I don't care. Even though Carrie was definitely in the wrong. Carrie was in the wrong and he should have broken up with her. I would break up with her too. Like, it was really serious what she did. Mouse gets very high. Her and Sebastian get high, but Mouse is toe up. The cop that Maggie is messing with shows up and he's trying to bust the party. And Maggie's all like, come into the room with me. After Bennett kisses Walt just runs back and he ends up in Connecticut again. I don't know how he ended up there. I don't know what train he took. It was like I don't know what train he took, but he's back in Connecticut. And he goes to Maggie and he loses his virginity to Maggie. And they're back together. While working at her internship, Carrie sees an old friend named George Silver. And he invites her out to his mother's party. But Carrie still likes Sebastian. So she declines the offer until she sees him kissing Donna while she was taking her driver's test and she hits them. She's just like me, except they would have been squished. Sorry.
Girl, keep on.
Mouse and Seth work out their differences and decide to start dating again. However, Seth isn't really focused on sex, and this worries Mouse because Maggie is talking about all the sex her and Walt are doing apparently, and she goes to ask Walt for help. They watch a tape that teaches them how to have sex. And when she puts it on Seth, it's so good that he's like, oh, did you do anything with anybody else when we were broken up? She's like, yeah, I guess. And he's like, oh, thank God, because I did it with people. And then she's like, how many? He says, oh, it was only 2 girls. And then they're like, Mouse trying to be cool about it. But Seth is kind of like being a little weird about it. And then he's like, I just can't believe you had sex with somebody else. I can't believe you had sex with somebody else. What's his name? And then here come Mouse going like, oh, his name is Walt. Why are you lying to this man? So Steph is freaking out. He's like, oh, I'm gonna beat him up when I see him. I'm gonna beat that Walt up. Sir, what are you doing? Tom loses his wedding ring and he realizes that maybe it's time to move on and start dating again with help of his friend Harlan, who is also George's father and the boss of Carrie because he owns the law firm that Carrie is currently working at. See how things are interconnected? This is worse than Gossip Girl. Episode 6 is a doozy. Episode 6 revolves around Thanksgiving and Carrie, the woman that is infamous for not knowing how to cook, even in this day, because she burnt nachos. How you burnt nachos in the microwave? First of all, why are you making nachos in the microwave? She's trying to cook the entire Thanksgiving dinner to keep her mother's memory alive. Girl, just let it die. I'm sorry. Let it be buried with her. I'm sorry, because you're not eating. You're not eating, and they're not eating too, okay? And she's also trying to impress her boyfriend, George, because they're dating now, and Harlan. Carrie enlists Mouse to help her with the Thanksgiving dinner, and Mouse ends up cooking most of it because Carrie is running around trying to stop Dorrit from sabotaging Thanksgiving. Well, Dorrit already sabotaged Thanksgiving. She already hid all the recipes. She ruined all the mom's recipes. She already did everything in the world to stop Thanksgiving from happening because Dorrit thinks that Carrie is trying to replace her as a mother, which Carrie is trying to do. She's trying to do everything that her mother did, but at the end of the day, Carrie, you don't got your mother's skill set, and that's okay. That's okay. Tom really sucks this episode because his daughter is sitting up here fighting for her life in this kitchen, and you're just sitting there watching the game. You're just sitting there watching the game the entire time. Boy, if you don't get up. And when everything blows up, quite literally, because the turkey catches on fire. And there's this huge fire in the kitchen. But most of the fire is contained to the oven because the turkey was too big. They slammed it in there. It was something. We're not going to talk about that. That was a lot. Even I was stressed out. And I wasn't even in the show. They ended up eating Frito bean dip. Dorrit and Carrie are going at it. And Tom's like, oh my gosh. I can't believe I sit here and let my daughters trying to piece the family together when it's my job as their dad. rare Tom W. Why didn't you realize this 6 episodes ago? You're stressing me out, Tom. You're stressing me out. You just send your daughter away to New York thinking everything's gonna be okay. Don't make me mad. That's why she don't want to be here now. Clock it. And then Sebastian was supposed to be spending Thanksgiving with his mother, but his mother bailed on him to go be with the tennis instructor, and he is left alone at her house. So he decides to go to the Bradshaws and spend Thanksgiving with them. Tom realizes that Sebastian isn't such a bad kid and realizes that he was just judging him. He says something around the lines like he was just a child that was taken advantage of, and I shouldn't have judged him like that. Exactly. 2 Tom W's in 1 episode? Wow. I love saying W. That's so stupid. I love sounding like a middle school boy. In episode 7, Carrie is with George, but her heart is with Sebastian, who is still with Donna. Larissa offers Carrie an internship at Interview magazine, and Carrie doesn't tell her dad about it at all. And Carrie then goes to the winter formal with George and tries to make Sebastian jealous. She leaves George out of the venue to his car, and he is under the impression that they will have sex. And when Carrie's like, no, I don't want to have sex, I'm a virgin, I want to save my virginity, I don't want it to happen right now, he flips and he's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you let me on. Oh my gosh, you're such a kid. You're such a kid. Virginity is something that you're just supposed to get away with. You're supposed to get out of the way so you guys have a da-da-da-da-da. Sir, don't ever do that ever again. So Carrie's like, oh really? We're breaking up. And he's like, I can't believe you're breaking up with me. Have fun trying to get home now. Sir, we are in Castleberry, Connecticut. She could walk anywhere. Seth and Mouse's relationship is interfering with Mouse's grades, and she gets a B on her exam. So she breaks up with him, as she should. And that's the last of Seth. Thank God we are free! And Maggie goes to the dance by herself and is ambushed by Simon and has sex with him in front of the school. And Donna sees them, and she blackmailed Maggie to keep Carrie away from Sebastian. In episode 9, there is an annual school lock-in that Carrie decides to bail on so she can go to Larissa's party in New York City. After Sebastian ends his relationship with Donna, he asks Mouse for advice so he could get Carrie back. Mouse is like, you should do this big gesture. She's out in the city right now. You should go do this big gesture. They go out to New York City, and they don't end up finding Carrie. They don't end up finding her. And they don't end up finding Carrie because Carrie's dad found her first. Lock in. Tom decides to go on a date because Harlan needs a wingman. They go to this restaurant, then they go to the club, and they're at the same club Larissa is throwing her party at. So Carrie's just dancing at the front. She's like, hey, hey, hey. And then she sees her dad. And then her dad sees her. And oh my goodness. This is also how Larissa and Harlan meet. And they actually get along pretty well. This is also how he finds out about the internship at Interview. Tom is chewing Carrie out. He is like, you're never going back to New York City again. You're never... As he should, because she should have been at that party. She's 17 years old. At the time, she's 16, I think. I don't think it's her birthday just yet. Back at Castleberry, Maggie is trying to tell Walt about her unfaithfulness, and it just isn't working. And Donna gets to Walt first. And at this point, Donna is kind of interested in Walt and kind of wants to like date Walt because he's so nice. He's just a nice person. And so she steals Walt away because she tells him about all the stuff that Maggie has been doing. In episode 9, Carrie has to babysit Dorrit, and Sebastian is also there at the house. She goes upstairs. She's like, where is Dorrit? And they're looking through her room trying to find some clues to where she was. And she was doing this project of like the most important day ever. And it was basically this thing where some band member killed their girlfriend at this certain hotel. And they're like, oh, it's in New York. Carrie is like, oh, I don't want you to come. It's my sister. I'm going to get her out of the mess. I'm going to get out of the mess. I should have been looking after her. The reason why I wasn't looking after her because I was with you. And she just goes off on him. But Sebastian still pulls through. Carrie takes the train to New York while Sebastian takes his Porsche to New York. So Sebastian gets there before she does. Also, while all of this is happening, Mouse butts heads with this guy named West, who is like this popular jock who took her spot as number 1 in their class. Hey y'all, it's Editor Sydney here, and I said this in my initial recording, but it was kind of confusing. Donna and Walt are dating now, and so they were talking one night. He was talking about how he doesn't want to like have sex and stuff like that, and Donna was like, are you gay? But not even in like a joking, funny like way. Like she was just genuinely asking. He was like, yeah, he was honest with her. So like Donna was the first person that Walt really came out to, which is kind of crazy. And she wasn't judgmental or anything. She was actually very accepting and nice. She basically kept him from being outed and was like, oh yeah, Walt got a big old penis. That's why we broke up. We see a different side of Donna that isn't like conniving and evil. Like she's just a great friend and great listener. Episode 10 centers around Carrie's 17th birthday, and she doesn't know whether she should spend the day with her friend and possibly losing her virginity to Sebastian, or go to a party in New York with Larissa. While all this is happening, Mouse is still going at it with Wes, and she is trying to convince this Harvard alumni that she is worth going to Harvard. But when the Harvard alumni sees Wes, she's all up Wes's behind. Crawl out of his behind before he gets a hernia. Quickly. Even I know that was outrageous. I'm sorry, guys. Maggie is trying to get back together with Walt. Walt has come to terms with his sexuality. He's like, Maggie, we're not gonna date again. It's not gonna happen. But he's not out yet. He's just like, I'm not gonna look at you romantically. We can just be friends, and that's okay. Walt and Bennett start interacting more. Dorrit then goes to a record store to buy Carrie a record for her birthday, and she meets this store clerk after she tries to like steal. And the store clerk like locks her in a closet, because that's what they do to shoplifters. But I think that's just what he does because he's weird and sadistic. But she is so scared by this, she leaves the record store without her gift that she already paid for, by the way. She was just stealing something else. Her father is kind of mad because it's like, girl, you had one thing that you need to do, go get a record for your sister. So she has to go back to the store, and she's just like, I just want my record back. And mind you, this boy is flirting with her the entire time. Mind you, this boy looks old, especially next to Dorrit. He looks so much older than her this entire time. I'm like, how old is he? And then he starts talking about college. I'm like, this is getting really weird, strange, and we have to stop this right now. We have to stop this right now, Dorrit. And her and the clerk have their first kiss together. Episode 11 revolves around spring break, and Carrie uses her entire week to work at interview. While Sebastian is trying to drop off a fake ID to Maggie, they see Tom and this mysterious woman named Deb making out in his car. And at the end of the episode, Sebastian and Maggie decide to not tell Carrie about what they saw. Like around 2 episodes ago, Mouse started being the team manager for basketball team. Like she's been trying to like push the basketball team to be better. Mind you, they're already undefeated. And she's been just doing a lot, and she's making the team hate her. So she comes up with this idea with the help of Donna to like get herself fired from the team so the team's morale could go back up and they can all be happy together again. West is kind of like, I'll miss you, Mouse. I miss you. He keeps dropping these hints that he kind of likes Mouse a little bit. And Mouse is kind of like pushing it away because the last time she was with a guy, it like ruined her grades, and that's why West became the valedictorian. Episode 12, which I thought was the last episode when I was watching this, and then episode 13 came on. I was so mad. But episode 12 is when Carrie complicates things with Sebastian. And she tries to fix her and Sebastian's relationship. She just makes it worse because she's trying to make it like this perfect night. She ends up pushing him away. During the day, Mouse is really trying to avoid West because West keeps flirting with her and Mouse is trying to stay away from him. But West is so cute and they were so cute together. I was like, finally, a guy somebody's age. Thank you. Even Sebastian and Carrie are together. I'm not dealing with that. I'm not explaining myself to y'all. Y'all are okay. Y'all get it. And then Tom spends the night with his girlfriend Deb, the same woman that he was kissing in the car. And he runs into her son and he was butt naked. And he starts going at her. She's like, how could you have a man over when your son's still in the house? How could you have sex in the same house your kids sleep in? Sir, get over yourself. The final episode of the season is centered around prom. Carrie, Maggie, Walt, and Mouse don't have dates to the prom, and they all decide to go together as a group. Carrie and Sebastian get back together, and Maggie tells Carrie about her and Sebastian seeing her father making out with a woman. And Carrie gets mad at Sebastian because he didn't tell her. But at the end of the day, that's your father's life. That's not your business. I would have told, me personally, I would have told my friend just because I would have just said, oh, I saw your father today and he was getting it in. Just being messy. And then Carrie ends up breaking up with Sebastian again. And Mouse is trying to find a way to like tell her parents that she's dating a black guy because West is black, because her parents are like kind of racist too. She's talking to her friends, she's like, why can't you just go with West? Mouse is like, of course my parents are racist. And I'm like, okay, stereotype 1, stereotype 2, stereotype 3. Why is nobody else a stereotype other than Mouse? West isn't a stereotype except for the fact that he has a single mother. Why are only the people of color in this show stereotypes? Dorit has sex with the store clerk, whose name is Miller, by the way. They're dating, and they've been dating this entire time since she met him. They've been dating, and his name is Miller. And Mr. Bradshaw decides not to date Deb because he knows his daughters would not like it. Maggie finds out from Sebastian that Walt is gay, and she blows up on him, calls him like and so everybody that was supposed to go to junior prom decides not to go to junior prom, except for Mouse, who decides to go with West. Carrie and Walt go to Larissa's going away party, and she decides to go to Kyoto for like a couple months. So Carrie and Walt end up staying in Larissa's apartment while she's gone. So over the summer, they don't have to commute from Connecticut to New York every single day. And then the unthinkable happens. Maggie and Sebastian kiss. Ew. And at first, Sebastian pulled away, but then he goes in for more. You know you wrong. You had a chance to stop. You had a chance to stop, and you didn't. And Carrie goes to Sebastian's house trying to rekindle their relationship, which they do, but she doesn't know that Maggie kissed Sebastian. And then when Maggie tells her the next day, Carrie is like, you're weird. How are you gonna try to make yourself a victim? Because Maggie's crying. She's like, I'm so sorry. I'm a terrible friend. And Carrie's like, how are you gonna try to make this about you? Everything's not about you. You kissed my boyfriend. And he was like, well, y'all were dating. It don't matter. They broke up that day. You kissed him that day. Who's worse, Cassie from Euphoria or Maggie from the Carrie Diaries? It's definitely Cassie by a long shot. But still, Maggie is terrible. She's doing it because she doesn't get enough attention at home. Carrie tells her father that her and Dora aren't like upset that he's moving on. So that was all of season 1. It was a lot. Season 2 is even more. Let's just get straight into season 2. Episode 1 of season 2 shows Carrie and Walt living in Larissa's apartment in Manhattan for the past 3 or 4 weeks of summer. But she still hasn't spoken to Sebastian or Maggie since World War III happened. But on 4th of July weekend, Carrie, Walt, and Donna are supposed to go out. But Donna brings Sebastian with her because she didn't feel like riding the train, and Sebastian has a nice little Porsche. So Sebastian tries to seize this moment to apologize to Carrie, but Carrie's like, nah, I ain't even go out with y'all no more. And so Sebastian, Donna, and Walt, they go out to Donna's cousin's bar, which is kind of this rocker type of bar, and Donna's not really feeling it, but we'll figure out what happens with them later. And while Carrie is out by herself, she's trying to get into the club, and she puts her purse on the ground and it gets stolen. So when her purse is stolen, she loses everything, like her wallet, her keys, everything. So she goes back to the bar that her and her friends are at, but they left because they weren't having a good time, so they tried to go and meet Carrie. But while she's there, she runs into a familiar face, Samantha Jones. This is Donna's cousin. Carrie is trying to tell her about all of this stuff that happened to her. So she's like, oh, I can get you into your apartment. So they try to break into the apartment, okay? Then the police come. They let her go, and then she goes into her apartment and she's lit. And then she's telling Samantha, she's like, yeah, if you need anything, you know where I live. And then they go their separate ways. Carrie slips up and tells Tom that Dora is dating Miller. And Tom's all like, I need to meet this Miller fella. And then Tom is being all suspicious every time Dora goes out. She's like thinking that she's always going to go see Miller, which she probably is. So Dorit tells Miller this, and Miller takes it upon himself to go to the Bradshaw house and to just meet the dad, which I understand why he needs to meet him. Like, he just took the initiative. But at the same time, if Dorit wasn't ready for you to meet her father, then you should wait a little bit. You should wait until Dorit's like ready. And y'all remember how Carrie told Samantha that if she needs anything, she knows where she lives? Samantha took that very literally and decides to move in with Carrie because she needs somewhere to stay. In episode 2, Samantha has been living with Walt and Carrie for 3 weeks now, and she is terrorizing the place. She's walking around butt naked. She's driving up the phone bill because she's like a phone sex operator and she's not paying no bills there. She's just doing a lot. And yeah, she's just really annoying them. So the entire episode, Carrie's trying to find out a way to like kick her out because Larissa is also coming home from Japan a week early. But she still feels bad trying to kick Samantha out because Samantha kind of saved Walt's birthday party, because episode 3, Larissa returns from Kyoto. Larissa and Samantha just don't like each other. Straight up. This is when they meet. And Larissa is just calling her all these things. And Samantha not backing out because it's Samantha Jones. This is also Carrie's first day back to school. And Sebastian gets help from Dorit to set Carrie up so they can get back together again. So Sebastian and Carrie, they see each other and instantly they trying to get it in, okay? Because Carrie is just so overtaken with emotion. She's just like, oh my gosh, I need you, Sebastian, I need you. So they start kissing, making out, and then the teacher walks in on them. And then Mouse is trying to motivate Maggie into looking for more colleges and applying to colleges more. And then Tom is offered a job at Harlan's law firm. In episode 4, Carrie pitched Larissa a profile on the playwright Adam Weaver, who reveals information to Carrie that she's not comfortable with sharing because she actually starts liking Adam a bit. So her and Adam start dating. I thought Adam was way older than what he is. 17 and 19 isn't that bad. I thought he was like 24 years old because he looked just so old, especially compared to Carrie. I was just like, what is this old man doing with this little girl? You can't hump that little dog. But because Carrie kind of refuses to share this information, Larissa kind of gets like annoyed with Carrie and it's just like, if you mess up one more time, that's your job. Tom finally introduced the girls to Deb and her son. And Deb's son is like absolutely terrible. And then Deb is all like defensive. Well, your son is a prick. Tom and Deb get into an argument and they break up over this, as they should. In episode 5, Sebastian's mother is getting remarried to the tennis instructor, and Sebastian is trying to draft like a prenuptial agreement for his mom, and he asked Tom for help, and Sebastian and Carrie run into each other because he was at her house. Carrie and Weaver have like a night out on the town. They have to go into like his parents' house, I think, and while they're there, he reads Carrie's diary, and Carrie catches him reading the diary, and she's like, what are you doing? And he's like, oh, it's okay if you're a virgin. It's okay. I don't care if you're a virgin. Because she was pretending not to be. I don't know. I don't understand why she was. Like, Carrie and Weaver have sex. And then Dorit starts to feel like smothered by Miller. Dorit's like talking to other guys in the hallway because Dorit got it like that. She pulled. So Miller shows up to her high school. Mind you, I think Miller has graduated at this point because last school year he was a senior. And then he's at her house when she gets home. He's at her house hanging with her dad. And so it's just like, you're just all up in her space and you're trying to like control her and smother her. And she broke up with him. In episode 6, Carrie doesn't know what to write in her essay for her writing classes that she's taking. And Weaver tells her to write about something that she fears the most. And Carrie is like, oh, I'm write about sex and I'm scared of it. And Weaver is like kind of getting on her like, you can write about something better. Don't write about something as amateurish and all this stuff about sex. Like, you could write about something sad. And I don't get that. When people feel like something is not worthy because it's sad, like, she could have wrote something very introspective about how her relationship was, like, she's a teenage girl. She can say a lot about sex. And because of all this pressure, Weaver and Carrie break up. Maggie and Sebastian are actually starting to become like friends. Maggie gets sick one day and she takes a pregnancy test and figures out that she is pregnant. She tells Sebastian, she's like, I'm pregnant, and this, that, and third. So she sleeps over at his house. And Carrie goes over to Sebastian's house that same night and she sees Maggie in there sleeping on the couch, and she's like, ah, nah, bruh. And Larissa and Samantha finally start getting along because they make a sex tape together. In episode 7, Weaver is very bitter and nasty and makes like all these false statements about Carrie to prevent people thinking anything bad about him. Samantha brings Carrie, Walt, and Bennett to this event so they have a chance to win a trip to Paris. Guess who is there? Weaver. Weaver is there. Carrie gets some type of closure with Weaver, and he's like, I know I made all that stuff up about you, but I just had to control the narrative. And also during this time, Maggie goes to try to get an abortion, but she ultimately decides not to do it. And Sebastian's like, you're not ready to have an abortion. This is a very big decision. You can wait. He's driving her home and she collapsed. He takes her to the hospital, and Maggie doesn't want her parents to know, of course. He calls Carrie, and Carrie goes to the hospital to go see Maggie and stuff like that. And so Maggie has to get this major surgery because her pregnancy landed on her fallopian tube. So she had to get a surgery, and she had to lose one of her tubes. And it's going to be harder for her to get pregnant in the future. And while this surgery is happening, her father and her mother show up, and the father is really mad. He's like, oh, are you the father? Are you the father? Are you the father of the child? Calm down. Sebastian is not the father. Sebastian's not the father. But Sebastian's like, that's not my story to tell. You have to wait for Maggie, because the person that is the father is the cop, and the cop didn't want to help Maggie out when she was pregnant. The person that was helping out, he is not the stepdad, but the dad that stepped up was Sebastian. I don't know if any of that made sense. Episode 8 is when Carrie finally gets another chance to write a story for an Interview magazine. Mouse finds out that she gets into Harvard early admission. West is kind of like happy for her, but Mouse is like, did you get in? Did you get in? And West is like, I didn't apply early admission because the alumni from Harvard, she told me that they only accept one person from Castleberry, and if it was probably gonna be me, so I wanted to give you that spot. Who do you think you are, West? Because the way he said it, it was like, oh, I'm doing you a favor. I'm doing you a favor. I'm letting you have Harvard. I'm letting you have Harvard. And even if that is the case, you don't talk to your girlfriend like that. You don't talk about your girlfriend like that. Like, she's not worthy of Harvard. Like, oh, if it was me or you, it was definitely going to be me. Which it probably was going to be him. So they start to like drift apart because of that. Walt's parents find out that he is gay because they see him and Bennett in a newspaper, and he starts living with Carrie's family. And then Tom starts acting like a father figure to Walt, and they sit around watching the Golden Girls, and it's kind of funny because they're like, oh, the Golden Girls isn't gonna last long. That show lasted so long, and it's still funny to this day. I was watching it and I was just cracking up. Like, it was really funny. And also, I kind of want to do a video on the Golden Girls. Maybe I would do like a breakdown of the characters, see which Golden Girl I am, you know, the vibe. And also, Maggie's out of the hospital and she's trying to tell her father it was Simon that got her pregnant. And she's struggling with it the entire episode, and she finally tells him. And then her father was so mad. But he's not mad at Maggie, he's mad at Simon, as he should be. He's like, I could kill him. I could kill him. As you should, because he is too old to be messing with her little tail. She is too young. And so Simon ends up getting fired, and Simon pulls up to the school and starts cussing out Maggie, and Carrie steps in. It's like, okay, you need to stop. And then Simon starts bugging up with Carrie and Maggie. So Sebastian's like, hold on now. Sebastian's like, hold on now. You're not about to do that. Like, you need to calm down. You're not about to do that. So they start fighting. They get to fight. Sebastian kind of tearing them up. Sebastian tearing them up a bit. Like, only one of them is bleeding. Only one of them is bleeding, okay? And it's not Sebastian. So Sebastian, he gets to pull off of him, and then Sebastian gets expelled. So when Sebastian's dad pulls up, like, Sebastian's under the impression, oh my gosh, he's going to be so mad at me. I got expelled from another school. But Sebastian's dad is on Sebastian's side. He's like, you're the only one making sense here. You're the only one that defended that poor girl from that grown man coming in and attacking her. Everybody's making sense this episode. Everybody's making sense this episode, a rare occasion. Because of this is when he stops making sense. He's like, we can finally move to California. What? How did we get here? In episode 9, Tom is away for a business trip because he's trying to set up this prenuptial agreement for Harlan and Larissa because they're engaged. Dorrit decides to have a party, and Sebastian shows up right before the party. So Sebastian and Carrie, they getting it in, and then all of a sudden they hear all these party noises and they come downstairs and Dorit lit. We all like, what's going on? Before Dorit's man even shows up, Dorit's man's friend shows up. And I don't know his name either. I think it's Scott. I would like to say it's Scott. He doesn't look like a Scott, but his name is Scott to me. And they're kind of like flirting, but it's like he's flirting very much and he like clearly likes her. And Dorit's like not seeing it. I don't understand how she didn't see it. And during this episode, Mouse and Donna are also trying to get along. And Sebastian has also decided to move back to Connecticut. But him and his dad came to an agreement. He's gonna give him an allowance so he can move to New York and find a place to stay in New York. So he ends up moving into Larissa's old apartment because Larissa is moving in with Harlan. On episode 10, it's Valentine's Day, and Carrie starts to resent Sebastian because he decides to not take her on a dinner date so he could meet up with Tony Hawk, because he's starting this skateboarding business. And while Walt, Bennett, and Carrie are out, they run into one of Bennett's ex's friends, and the friend gives Bennett the news that Bennett's ex is dying of AIDS. There's a possibility that Bennett has HIV, and if Bennett has HIV, then Walt probably has it as well. So he's just crying and he renounces being gay. And then at the same time in Castleberry, it's U.S. enlistment day. They're basically, people from the army are here. They're trying to like convince students to enlist, and they get Maggie, y'all. They get her. She tells Mouse this, and Mouse is all like, that's not a good idea, Maggie. So they go and infiltrate an army base to steal Maggie's file. The person that catches them ends up having a crush on Maggie, and he gets her number and all that. Tom ends up meeting Scott, and he's like, oh yeah, he's actually cool. But at this time, Dorit's not really feeling Scott in a romantic way. So Tom decides to be like, oh, I hate Scott so much. So Dorit starts going out with him to get under his skin. And the thing is, Scott is actually a great influence because he's full of love and life, and Dorit is just refused to acknowledge that she's also full of love and life. In episode 11, Bennett is like slacking off from his job really bad. Like he has not gone to work in like weeks. It's really terrible. And so Larissa's like, I need this parachute pants story on my desk by the end of the day. So Carrie calls Bennett, and Bennett's not answering. So Carrie ends up writing the story for him, and Bennett comes in the next day, and Larissa's like, oh my gosh, this is the best story ever. Bennett leaves early again, and he has this like ballet thing to. Carrie finds out that Bennett's actually just like partying all day. He's not actually grieving or sick. He's just partying. And so Carrie takes the ballet thing and ends up doing a great job on the story, and ends up taking Bennett's job. And then Sebastian's dad arrives in town, and he asked him if he could use his trust fund because he is dirt broke right now, because he invested in some high yield bonds that just didn't go the way it's supposed to go. Maggie's boyfriend's name is Pete. I don't know how old he is, so I'm not gonna clock his teachers yet. Episode 12 revolves around Carrie and her friend's senior prom, and since all of them are dateless due to all of these other circumstances, so they attend as a group. Dora also goes to the prom with her boyfriend to just be messy, and they go ironically, but whole time he just wanted to convince her to go to the prom because he just wanted to go to prom with her because he likes her. And before they go to prom, Larissa tells Carrie that she's offering her a full-time job at interview. And when her dad finds out about this, he flips. He is turning into Simone Biles the way he is flipping. He's like, oh, I'm gonna cut you off if you decide to go to this job because you want to be grown. If you want to be grown, you can deal with them grown people bills, okay? She decides not to attend college. She pulls out of NYU. She not playing. And then Sebastian is debating on whether or not he should move to California for his skateboarding business because everything else is located out there because that's where Tony Hawk is located. Final episode of Carrie Diaries is everybody graduating from high school. Everything is falling apart for Carrie. Larissa gets fired from interview because she does this big spread on the newspaper and she forgets to credit Andy, who is her boss. So she gets fired from interview, thus getting Carrie fired from, and she cannot get into NYU for at least the spring semester. So she's like stuck in this limbo and she doesn't know what to do. And while this is all happening, Maggie tries to uncover like a secret about her man, and she finds this number in his pocket. So Maggie's pressing her man about it, and she's like, who's Jess? Who's Jess? Who's Jess? Are you cheating on me? And then he gets all down on his knees and proposes. He's like, Jess was a jeweler. Mouse and Wes are revealed to be co-valedictorians. They had the same GPA down to the last decimal. Mouse and Wes are co-valedictorians because they had the same GPA down to the decimal, and they finally recovered from Harvard Gate. Hi guys. And while Carrie is trying to get her stuff back together, she moves in with Sebastian just temporarily until she can find her own place. Sebastian tells Carrie that he's moving out to California. The only thing that was holding him back was Carrie, and now he feels like Carrie could come with him because now she doesn't have a job at Interview Magazine. She doesn't have a college holding her back. She can just go. And so Carrie agrees to go to California with him. And Larissa and Harlan run into Tom, and Larissa is spilling her guts. And she's like, oh yeah, we're getting married in 2 weeks instead of all that time out. We're because, you know, I got fired from Interview, you know, and I feel so bad for Carrie because she got fired too because of me. And I was like, and then Tom was like, wait, Carrie got fired from Interview? Whoa! Why were you out here telling business, Larissa? Tom pulls up to Sebastian's apartment to go see Carrie. He's like, you have poor judgment. You're doing a bad thing. You're going to mess up your life. You're going to mess up your life so bad. You should have just went to college. This, that, and third. You're going to follow a man out to California. This is not your life. This is not what you're supposed to be doing with your life. Whoa. What happened to female rap beauty, Tom? And at Larissa's wedding, which is in the JFK International Airport, she talks to Sebastian again. I can't move to California. This is where I'm at. This is my home. The series ends with Carrie getting her life back. She ended up subletting Larissa's apartment instead of Sebastian because he moved to California anyway. And also she is waitressing, and Samantha moved in with her because she can't afford the $550 a month rent. Oh my gosh. Can we bring that back? So it really ends with her trying to rebuild her life, her being surrounded by her friends, serving her friends as a waitress. You know, it was just a really nice ending, but it felt like the ending to a season, not a series. You could tell it got canceled. The Carrie Diaries is a great show with glaring problems. From the glamorization of Carrie's dangerous habits of sneaking off to New York when she's like a 16-year-old girl, to the countless 20-something men the children in the show date, the series just ignores all of those issues. But the show is aware that this is strange and a character issue for these grown men to be dating teenage girls because Bennett does not want to be dating Walt until he turns 18. So it just calls out these things because you're trying to convince me that these are great men when they're old as ever trying to date these little girls. Other than that, it was actually a really good show other than what they did. But I actually enjoyed myself while watching the show. I expected it to be more like Gossip Girl when it's much more grounded than that. That's basically all for this video. Mima is tired. Mima has to go to bed. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you guys so much for over 900 subscribers. That's crazy. We're about to be at 1,000 subscribers. Is that not crazy to y'all? Like literally last month I was like at 300 something subscribers. That's crazy. Is that not crazy to you? It's crazy to me, little old Sydney. 20,000 views on the Sex and the City video, the original one, over 10,000 views on the movies. That's crazy. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see y'all in the next one. Bye, guys.